Hey everybody, Tekking 101 back again, except I'm not back again because as you're watching this, I'm still in London. Yeah, all of these intro segments are going to be filmed on the same day, so get used to seeing this Ace hoodie. I mean, okay, honestly, if you had to wear one hoodie for the rest of your life, I mean, Ace had some drip. That's all I'm saying. If Ace was wearing this hoodie, he probably wouldn't have died. I don't think Akainu would have been able to pierce this with mere magma. All right, this is magma resistant fabric, okay? Anyway, today's video from the past is going to be about Dragon Ball Super, I think. I think I'm mostly talking about Super in this one, which I feel like is rather fitting that I'm bringing this video back with the tragic passing of Akira Toriyama back in March. As I'm filming this right now, it's been almost 3 months since he's been gone, and it just, time flies, really. So, yeah. Now, this one, I want to give you a little bit of a setup. First of all, I'm wearing my Dollar Tree shirt in this video, so anybody remembers the Dollar Tree arc of Tekking's career. I just got off work when I filmed this, and also my voice is like really congested, so I probably have a cold. This was most likely filmed in like late 2016 or like January 2017, right around there. So forgive that a little bit. I seem rather low energy and just tired. So, yeah, but I'm talking about Dragon Ball Super, and I think this was also right before I started reviewing the episodes of Super during the Tournament of Power arc. If you go back on the channel, I did episode, like weekly episode reviews of the Tournament of Power all the way up until the end of the anime. And it's also crazy to me that the Dragon Ball Super anime has been gone for, like, it's finished, like, well, it didn't finish. It is going to continue, right? I think there was actually some news about that lately. So when it comes back, maybe I'll continue talking about it. But no, that is something I did for a while. So, yeah, take it away. Early 2017, congested, tired, working a part-time job at a Dollar Tree back when Dollar Tree really did sell everything for $1 because inflation exists and it's $1.25 now. But yeah, take it away, me. Hey everybody, Tekking here. Once again, this is going to be another short one. I just got off work and everything, but I wanted to talk about Dragon Ball Super for this episode of Real Talk. And not just actually Dragon Ball Super, but the entire Dragon Ball series and what it means to me, and, you know, like my past with it growing up as a child, a wee little tyke growing up out in the boonies. You know, I didn't have a lot of friends back then that were really into anime. It was really only 2 or 3 friends I had, but we all watched Dragon Ball Z, and we all got really into it. And then, of course, Dragon Ball Super has just been released a few, years ago, bringing us back into this world. Not a reboot, not a remake, but actually continuing the story. And I just made a video about that on my channel. There was a new arc that just started in Dragon Ball Super. It's probably the most hype arc that's ever since Dragon Ball Super started, so I would suggest you check it out and check out the series as well. Right, so I would say most people would say Dragon Ball Z was their first time being exposed to anime. It was dubbed in the 90s, I think into the early 2000s, so many people that were part of my generation that are around my age in their early mid-20s probably grew up with Dragon Ball Z. Now, Dragon Ball Z was actually not my first anime. That honor goes to probably Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu Yu Hakusho as well. Out of those 3, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Are intended for a much more younger audience. Now, okay, Yu-Gi-Oh! In the original dub was a little bit more extreme, you had people dying and everything, but in the 4Kids dub, it was all, Shadow Realm and everything, so it was aimed as a much younger audience. But yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho is definitely aimed at a much more older audience, at teenagers and stuff. I actually, I'll admit this, I don't care. I didn't like Dragon Ball Z at first. I didn't. I thought it was annoying. I didn't care for the fact that I had these 2 friends that would always talk about it and would always go on and on about it and how awesome it was, and they would always be watching it, and I just would not get into it. I don't know what it was. I don't know why I couldn't get into this story. I remember very vividly one day there was a Dragon Ball Z marathon on Cartoon Network, and I was pissed off because that's all they would be showing all day, and I remember thinking to myself, I can't watch any of my cartoons that I like to watch because this shit is on all day. And I remember being pissed about that. The problems you encounter when you're like a 6-7-year-old kid. I really don't know what happened. I remember Dragon Ball aired after Dragon Ball Z. It was mixed up in the dub, and they started airing that on Toonami.
and I started watching Dragon Ball and getting into that. And I think it was through that I really started getting really invested in the story. Maybe because Dragon Ball Z was like in like a random part where we get started. You know, I think I was in the middle of the Namek arc when my friends were all talking about it and shit. And so when I started with Dragon Ball, like I think I remember starting on episode 1. I really started getting into it, and by the time we got to Z, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is pretty fucking cool. This is pretty cool. Eventually, I remember by the Boo Saga collecting the VHS tapes. I probably still have a few around here. And I remember getting the VHS tapes because they would air episodes that had not aired yet on television. Remember, this is before we had high speed internet. We had dial up internet at this point, and you can't just go on the internet and watch shows or anime or whatever. It was basically either watch it on television or manage to get a VHS. And the VHSs were like a few dozen episodes ahead of the TV anime. So I was like, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen next. And then, by the end of the Boo Saga, I'm way into it. But of course, we all know what happens. The series ends at the end of Z in the manga. And, it's a good ending, I would say, from the manga perspective. By the way, if you haven't I didn't read the Dragon Ball manga for a long time just because I felt like I knew the story so well, but I would really check it out. I seriously would. It's worth it. Even if you're already a fan of the story and you know what happens, I would still suggest checking out the manga just for the sake of, completion. But yeah, so Dragon Ball Z ends. I remember trying to get into GT. And remember, this was before, like I said, there was no internet. So there was internet, but it was very rudimentary. There was no, like, internet forums or Facebook or social media to come on and tell you, like, oh man, Dragon Ball GT fucking sucks ass. So I was discovering this for the first time. I remember buying a few of the VHSs for GT and just being like, I'm not into this. Dragon Ball Z got stupid. I didn't realize until much later the whole concept of what's canon and what's not, what's filler. I wasn't even reading manga at this point, so I had no idea what manga even was. Like, oh wait a second, this gets adapted from the thing. Fun story: the first edition, the first copy of Shonen Jump I ever purchased, because they did have an American version of Shonen Jump. It's not sold in stores anymore; it's all online now. But they did sell it at one point in the store, and the first Shonen Jump magazine I ever bought had an image of Goku and Yugi on it from Yu-Gi-Oh, and so those were two things I knew about. So I didn't even know what manga was, but I had my mom buy me the Shonen Jump magazine when we were at Walmart one night, and I'm flipping through it, and I didn't even know what to expect. I'm like, wait, these are black and white backwards comics, but that included the last chapter of Dragon Ball Z that was serialized in Shonen Jump, and in the American Shonen Jump anyway. So I remember that one. But yeah, years go by, and I, of course, was still into Dragon Ball Z, but there was just no new content, and I wasn't going to get into GT. It just wasn't going to happen. So I kind of faded out. It kind of faded out for a while. But you know what brought it back? I'll tell you what brought it back for me and for a lot of fucking people, and that was Team 4 Star's Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Which came out, I believe, in 2000 and, I want to say 2007 is when the first episodes came out, going into 2008. Maybe it was 2008. But yeah, that was crazy because I was a teenager at that point. I was now about 14, 15 years old, just getting, into other kinds of anime at this point, just getting into Bleach, really. And so I fell in love with Dragon Ball again because it was fucking hilarious. And a lot of abridged story series, the earlier you go back, they're shittier quality. I mean, like, there's obviously a big difference of production when you compare Dragon Ball Z Abridged episode 3 to episode fucking 53. Obviously, they've improved. But they're still really good, and I can go back and watch them every time. And I know it doesn't have anything to do with the actual Dragon Ball story. It doesn't advance that at all. It's something that's completely a fan-made project. But I fell in love with the Abridged series, and that really kept my love of Dragon Ball Z going. So by the time that it was announced in 2013 that Battle of Gods was going to be made, it was probably announced in 2012 that it was going to be made. It was released in 2013. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go, because I'm already, Dragon Ball Z's already got me. I mean, the Abridged series has already got me into it. So I did not see Battle of Gods in theaters. I saw it later. I saw Resurrection of F in theaters, and it was fucking incredible. And finally we get to Super, Dragon Ball Super, and I was a little bit dubious as how this was going to go about. I didn't know if it was going to be a remake, or I didn't know if they were going to continue the story, but they did continue the story. And you know what? The anime, I think the anime connects it back to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z more so than the manga does. It's one of those weird examples where the manga is actually behind the anime. The anime is already way further ahead than the manga is. The manga is serialized on a monthly basis, I believe now. So yeah, but after, and there was a few issues with animation. The animation in those early episodes of Dragon Ball Super were pretty fucking shitty. The battle between Beerus and Goku. Also, the fact that the first two arcs of Super were a recap of the movie. I didn't get into Super at first. I guess that's what I should be saying. It took me until I'm like, all right, wait until we get done with the fucking Frieza arc, then I'll get back into it. And so I started watching when Universe 6 started, and then okay, that was good. And then I've been hearing some mixed opinions about Future Trunks and the Goku Black Saga. I fucking liked it. I don't know about you. I've been hearing some pretty big shit about how it was ended, how Zamasu was defeated. I was actually alright with it. It wasn't like my favorite arc in the story or anything, but I like the music. I like to see Future Trunks again. I like Zamasu as a villain, even though he was bland a bit times, but I think the arc was pretty solid, and I think it deserves some accolades. Then after that, there was some fillers that I have really not got caught up on, but now comes to the big event, the Universe Survival arc. A massive tournament showcasing all the 12 universes in the Dragon Ball story. Also, that's something else that Super did that was such a big deal. It expanded on the lore of the story by making it much more grand. That was one of my gripes about Dragon Ball Z, is how Goku kept meeting characters that were apparently gods, and yet Goku was already stronger than them. Like he meets Kami, and I'm like, all right, well, Kami's kind of just an overseer. He's not really a god. I'm like, okay. And then he goes to fucking Otherworld and meets King Yema, and then meets King Kai, but he's still stronger than them, and I'm like, all right. And then you get the Grand Kai, which was designed by Toriyama, but only in the anime. And then finally you get to the Supreme Kais, who once again are not as strong as the main characters. And I'm just saying, this sounds so weird that this is the Supreme Kai, this is the ultimate authority in the universe, and Goku could fucking kick his ass easily with one hand tied behind his back if he wanted to. I just find it weird calling these guys gods. But finally we get the expansion of the lore, where it's like, these aren't real, they are gods, but they're gods of creation. They're not meant to fight. All of that is because of the gods of destruction, and that kind of balanced everything out. Kind of everything sort of made sense after that. And then the introduction of like, oh, there's so many more characters out there that are stronger. You got the gods of destruction, but you also have the angels like Whis and Vados, who are even stronger than the gods of destruction. And then you get to fucking Zeno, which is like the absolute cap. There's no character that's going to be stronger than this character. The god of the universe, the god of the omniverse, the king of all. Okay, so at least they set a fucking cap. Like, this is the strongest fucking being in all of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball Super. There it is. There's the cap. So it was interesting to meet characters finally that Goku and Vegeta just couldn't defeat, that were calling themselves gods and angels and shit. Like, they actually mean something as the title. But yeah, that's basically my history with Dragon Ball and my personal stories about it. I'm going to try to start reviewing it weekly now, so go and check out my main channel, Tekking 101, over on YouTube, and subscribe to it. I'll be following along the Universe Survival arc, and I'm hoping it's pretty good, because there's a lot of hype going for it. But anyway, yeah, I was intending this to be a quick video, but I just got on the roll, man, talking about Dragon Ball Z. Great anime, part of my childhood. I'll love it forever. And I don't know where Dragon Ball Super is going to go, and that's kind of the cool thing. I don't know what's going to happen. I just don't. I feel like I do back in 1990 fucking 8 or 9. Goku's fighting against Cell, and I don't know what's going to happen, and then he blows himself up, and it's like, there's no way I could have saw that coming. And then, so I'm like that right now. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I can't just go and read the manga like, oh, that's how the Universe Survival arc ends. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty fucking cool. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking 101, signing out.